alert. Do you feel that anguish inside? That uncertainty that keeps gnawing, chewing on your thoughts, turning your mind into a battlefield where peace seems like a distant mirage? That vibrating phone, a notification, a vague message, and suddenly, your world stops. You're in limbo. For hours, days maybe, analyzing every word, every comma, every damn emoji, trying to decipher a puzzle that seems to have no solution. You invest your time, your energy, your hope. You open your world, show your vulnerabilities, your dreams into someone. And what do you get in return? A tangle of maybe, a frustrating maybe someday, a painful one day. And the feeling, that horrible feeling of running in circles, trapped on an emotional treadmill that takes you nowhere, just tires you out, exhausts you, leaves you breathless and without direction. If your stomach turns just thinking about it, if frustration has become a constant shadow in your life, an old acquaintance you wish you'd never met, then, my friend, get ready, hold on tight. Because what I'm about to reveal here now isn't just a list of worn-out signs you've seen around. No, this is a map. A map for you to rescue your inner peace, your mental clarity, your precious time, that resource that never comes back. And the compass? The ancient wisdom, time-tested, forged in the fire of adversity, Stoicism. In the next few minutes, you won't just learn to identify the treacherous traps of being leading on, the ones that suck your soul without you even realizing it. You will discover the key, the master key to free yourself from them, once and for all, to never again be held hostage by someone else's indecision. And the first big revelation, the one that will start to turn the tables in your favor, might be simpler, more direct, and infinitely more powerful than you imagine. Are you ready to stop being a supporting character in your own story and take the lead role? Are you ready to trade anguish for action, doubt for certainty, waiting for decision? Because this journey starts now, and it's about you, about your power, about your freedom. First, let's face the reality of this labyrinth. You find yourself, often without even knowing how you got there, in a real emotional labyrinth. Every corridor seems promising at first, doesn't it? A kind word, a smile, a veiled promise. But then you move forward, you invest, and a dead end, again and again. This feeling of being leading on, of spinning your wheels in the same place, is more common. Much more common than you think, my friend. It's a subtle game, almost invisible sometimes, a game of unmet expectations, ambiguous communication, mixed signals that leave you more confused than a chameleon in a bag of Skittles. And the first step, the fundamental step to getting out of this labyrinth is not, as many think, finding the magic exit immediately. No, before that you need light. You need to shine a flashlight to see where you really are, to see the walls, the obstacles, the false passages. And here comes the first key shift, the first powerful insight that will start to change everything. The realization that clarity, this clarity you seek so much, begins with self-observation, with looking inward, and not with the desperate attempt to decipher the other person, to get inside her mind, to guess what she wants or feels. Forget that for a moment. The light is within you. This is the first beam, the first real hope of finding the way. Before we continue on this rescue journey, I want you to do something practical, something real. Grab a simple notebook, a notepad, or open an app on your phone. The tool doesn't matter, the intention does. Let's call this your Clarity Logbook. Did you write that down? Clarity Logbook, because that's exactly what it will be. A faithful record of your journey towards emotional lucidity. In it, over the next 30 days, and I want commitment here, warrior, commitment to yourself, you will make crucial notes, details that seem small but which together paint the complete picture of the situation. And here enters the first rule of our educational universe, the golden rule that sustains all true transformation. Brutal honesty with yourself. Repeat after me, wherever you are. Brutal honesty with myself. No filters, no excuses, no trying to sugarcoat things. This honesty is the fuel for your liberation. Without it, you remain in the dark, even with the flashlight in hand. Now, let's look at a practical example, so you understand how this logbook will work and how the lack of clarity manifests itself. Imagine the scene. You take the initiative, you propose a meeting, something simple, direct. How about we go out Friday? And the answer comes, apparently positive but full of loopholes. I'd love to, but this week is totally crazy at work. I'll tell you later, okay? Seems harmless, doesn't it? Even understandable. But then the days pass, Friday comes and goes. Silence, no explanation, no new proposal. You're left there stewing. Should I send another message? Did she forget? Is she not that into someone? This anguish, this waiting, this paralyzing analysis, this is exactly what goes into your clarity. Logbook, note the date, note your initiative, note her response word for word if possible. And most importantly, note how you felt. Frustrated, anxious, rejected, angry. Note the time you spent waiting for a response that didn't come. Note if you gave in to the temptation to send another message chasing for a response or stewing. Be brutally honest. This is the first step to identifying the pattern. Because, my friend, being leading on is rarely an isolated act. It's a pattern of behavior, and your logbook will be your private detective, collecting the irrefutable evidence of this pattern. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control. You don't control her schedule, nor her feelings, nor her responses. But you control your perception, your notes, your decision to investigate the truth of the situation. Turning on this flashlight of self-observation is saying, I refuse to walk in the dark. I demand clarity starting with myself. And this internal clarity is the first fatal blow to being leading on. Because when you start to see the game with clarity, you stop being a manipulable piece in it. You start to position yourself, and that, my friend, changes everything. This crazy at work, this seemingly plausible excuse, how many times have you heard variations of it? My family needs me. I'm having some personal problems. This week was hectic. These are phrases that in isolation might be true, but when they become the soundtrack to your interaction, when they are the standard response to any attempt of yours to create connection, to move forward, to have a minimum of predictability, then they cease to be justifications and become symptoms. Symptoms of what? Of lack of priority, of lack of genuine interest, or in the worst case of deliberate manipulation. And your clarity logbook will show you this in black and white. It will no longer be your anxious assumptions, but the facts recorded by yourself. This is power. This is the beginning of regaining control. Because the truth, however hard, sets you free, and the lie, or the convenient omission, imprisons. You choose which side you want to be on. Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on reason and virtue, invites us to examine our impressions. Epictetus said that it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. When she says, I'll tell you later, and disappears, what disturbs you is not just the disappearance, but your judgment. She doesn't care. I'm not good enough. I'm being played for a fool. The logbook helps you separate the fact she didn't return the contact as promised from your painful interpretation, and by making this distinction you gain space to breathe, to analyze more calmly, to decide your next steps based on reality and not on the roller coaster of your wounded emotions. Think about your time. Your time is your life. Every minute you spend waiting, anguished, analyzing vague messages is a minute that will never come back. It's a minute you could be investing in yourself, in your projects, in people who truly value you. Being leading on is allowing someone else to dictate the value of your time. And that, my friend, is unacceptable for a man who seeks to live with dignity and purpose. So, the first task is this: shine the flashlight. Start the logbook. Observe, record, be honest. This is the foundation. Without it, everything else crumbles. Are you ready for this first challenge? To look the truth in the eyes, even if it hurts a little at first. Remember, the pain of truth is healing. The pain of uncertainty is chronic. It consumes you little by little. The choice is yours, and I know you have the strength to make the right choice. If what I've described so far, this feeling of being in a labyrinth, this anguish of waiting, has ever happened to you, if you've ever found yourself in this situation where your time and peace are stolen by uncertainty, leave a "me too" in the comments. Let's see how many warriors here have faced this battle and are ready to learn how to win the next ones. Your participation is important. It shows you're not alone in this. Second, now that you've turned on the first flashlight and started recording the facts in your clarity logbook, let's delve deeper into the signs. What traces does being leading on leave? How to identify, unequivocally, that you are on an emotional treadmill. That won't take you anywhere except to exhaustion. Because, understand this well, being leading on is subtle. It disguises itself as a busy life, a complicated time. I don't want to hurt you. But beneath these disguises, there's a pattern. And it's this pattern that we are going to unmask now. Pay close attention, because recognizing these signs is the second crucial step for you to take the reins back of your emotional life. The first classic sign, and perhaps the most obvious, is vague and ambiguous communication. You know those messages that say absolutely nothing with many. Words that "let's keep in touch," "see you around and maybe someday," or monosyllabic responses to your attempts to deepen a conversation or make concrete plans. Cool. Okay. That's not communication, my friend. That's smoke. It's a way to keep you close, but without any kind of commitment or clarity. It's the famous emotional back burner. The person doesn't let you go, but also doesn't hold on to you. And you stay there, simmering on low heat, waiting for a definition that never comes. Note in your logbook, how many times were her answers evasive when you tried to define something? How many times did you end a conversation feeling more confused than when you started? This is a red flag flashing intensely. Another glaring sign. Recurring and often inconsistent excuses. Today it's work, tomorrow it's a sick relative, then it's the dog that got sick. The following week it's an unfavorable planetary alignment. A genuinely interested person who respects you can have unexpected events. Of course, life happens. But when unexpected events become the rule, when every attempt of yours to create a moment together is met with a new far-fetched excuse, be suspicious. And be very suspicious. Use your logbook to list these excuses. You will be surprised by their frequency and sometimes their lack of creativity. Stoicism teaches us to seek truth and act with rationality. Constant excuses are a veil covering a lack of willingness or lack of consideration, and you don't need to be a detective to realize this. Just be an attentive and honest observer of the facts. And the plans? The plans. Plans postponed indefinitely or cancelled last minute. You make arrangements, build anticipation, sometimes even cancel other commitments. And then, minutes before or the night before, comes the message, "Ugh, can't make it," followed perhaps by one of those excuses we've already mentioned. This isn't just frustrating, it's disrespectful. It shows that your time, your schedule, your expectation mean very little to the other person. A Stoic understands that he doesn't control the actions of others, but he controls how he reacts to them, and especially how much he allows them to repeat. If you tolerate constant cancellations without questioning, without setting boundaries, you are teaching the other person that your time is flexible and your commitment is secondary. Think about that. And the initiative? Where is the other person's initiative? Relationships, even the most casual ones, are a two-way street. If it's always you who calls, who proposes, who tries to make plans, who starts a conversation, who makes an effort to keep the connection alive, something is very wrong there. The absence of the other person's initiative is a clear sign of disinterest or complacency. She might even respond to your advances. She might even be nice when you show up. But if she never, or almost never, takes the first step, if she doesn't, show proactive effort to be with you, to know about you, to build something. Even if it's a friends with benefits relationship with respect, then you are carrying this load alone. And a load, my friend, is too heavy for one man alone. Note in your logbook, what was the ratio of your initiatives versus hers in the last month? The numbers don't lie. Another classic behavior of being leading on is selective availability. The person only shows up when it's convenient for them, usually when they are bored, lonely, or when other plans fell through. She sends you a message late at night, invites you to a last-minute plan that clearly wasn't her first option, and you, in the eagerness to get some crumb of attention, often accept. But what about when you need something? When you propose something in advance? Then she's too busy. This availability that works like a switch, sometimes on, sometimes off at their whim, is a sign that you are not a priority, but a convenience, an emotional spare tire, and no man of value deserves to be treated as a spare tire. Stoicism. Talks about self-respect. Accepting to be a convenience is undermining your own value. The chats also say a lot. If the chats are always superficial, if she avoids at all costs talking about feelings, about what you are to each other, about expectations, or if she quickly changes the subject when you try to bring up these points, pay attention. Depth scares those who don't want commitment. Clarity terrifies those who benefit from confusion. Keeping things at the level of a casual fling, the superficial, is a strategy not to have to define things, not to have to take emotional responsibility. And you stay there wanting to build a bridge, while she just wants to play on the riverbank. And the famous hot and cold behavior? One day she treats you like you're the most incredible person in the world, showers you with attention, compliments, makes grand plans for the future. The next day, or the next week, she disappears. She's cold, distant, barely responds to your messages. This cycle of idealization and withdrawal is terribly exhausting and confusing. It keeps you trapped on an emotional roller coaster, always waiting for the next peak of heat and fearing the next drop into the cold. This can even be a known manipulation tactic called intermittent reinforcement, which is more addictive than constant attention because you never know when the reward will come. And so you keep trying, keep investing. It's cruel, and it's a very clear sign that something is not right. If the duration of the relationship would already justify it, and she avoids introducing you to friends or family, or always has an excuse not to include you in her social plans, this is also an indicator. Not that she needs to take you to meet her grandmother on the second date, but if months pass and you continue to be a secret figure in her life, you need to question why. Does she not see you as someone for the future? Is she embarrassed? Or are there other people and she doesn't want the worlds to collide? The lack of integration into the other person's social life, when time would already allow it, is a sign that you are being kept on the sidelines. And finally, one of the most treacherous signs, talking a lot about the future vaguely, but without any concrete action in the present. Oh, maybe someday we could travel to such and such a place. When my life calms down, we'll be able to do so many things together. I'd love to have someone like you by my side in the future. Beautiful words, airy promises. But what about the actions? What about now? What is she doing today to build this future with you? If the words are not accompanied by consistent actions in the present, they are just that, words to the wind. A way to keep you hopeful, engaged, but without delivering anything real. Stoicism is an eminently practical philosophy. Marcus Aurelius reminds us to focus on the present, on action. Future words without substance in the present are a form of sophisticated leading on. And there's more. Sometimes when you, tired of the uncertainty, try to seek clarity, try to have a serious conversation, the person makes you feel guilty. Wow, you're so anxious. You're putting too much pressure. Why spoil what we have with these chats? This is gaslighting. It's a tactic to reverse the situation, to make you out to be the problematic one, the needy one, the one in a hurry, when in reality you are just seeking the minimum respect and honesty. Don't fall for that. Seeking clarity is your right. It's an act of self-care. These are just some of the signs, my friend, but they are the most common, the most evident when you start observing with the lens of brutal honesty we talked about at the beginning. Use your clarity logbook to map the occurrence of these signs in your interaction. How many of them are present? How often? The answer to these questions will give you a precise diagnosis. And remember Epictetus's dichotomy of control. You don't control if she will be vague, if she will make excuses, if she will disappear. But you control if you will continue to accept this. You control if you will continue to invest your precious energy in a situation that clearly doesn't value you. Recognizing these signs is not to make you paranoid, it's to empower you. The power of information, the power to make conscious decisions about your life instead of being carried by the tide of someone else's indecision. Like this video, right? Now if you are starting to see these patterns and are ready to take the helm of your emotional life back, your like shows me that we are on the right track, that this message is resonating. Third, now that you know how to turn on the flashlight of self-observation and you have a map of the main signs of being leading on, we need to talk about the consequences. What happens to you inside when you allow this dynamic of uncertainty to drag on for weeks, months, sometimes even years, what is the real price you pay for remaining in this emotional limbo? Because believe me, the cost is high, much higher than you imagine. And understanding this cost is fundamental to creating the necessary motivation for change. The first and most immediate consequence is constant anxiety. That feeling of always walking on eggshells, waiting for the next message, analyzing every word, every emoji, doubting if you did or said something wrong, the fear that she might disappear for good. This anxiety becomes an unwelcome companion, stealing your peace of mind, affecting your sleep, your concentration at work, your leisure, time. You are not truly present in other areas of your life because a part of your mind is always busy, always on alert, always trying to decipher the undecipherable. This is exhausting, and it's fertile ground for other emotional problems. Along with anxiety comes accumulated frustration. Every cancelled plan, every vague response, every unexplained disappearance is a small dose of frustration that adds up. At first you overlook it, you try to understand, you give the benefit of the doubt. But with time, this frustration becomes a burden, a bitterness that contaminates your mood and your worldview. You start to feel powerless, as if you are fighting a losing battle. And this feeling of helplessness is devastating to any man's self-esteem. Speaking of self-esteem, this is another crucially affected point. When you invest in someone who doesn't reciprocate with clarity and respect, it's almost inevitable to start questioning yourself. Am I not good enough? Is there something wrong with me? Why doesn't she choose me? You start to internalize the veiled rejection, the lack of priority, and this undermines your self-confidence, your sense of worth. You start to see yourself through the eyes of someone who doesn't value you, and this is a dangerous trap. A man who doesn't recognize his own worth becomes an easy target for unbalanced and abusive relationships. Mental and physical exhaustion are also real consequences. The constant tension, the worry, the excessive analysis, all this consumes an enormous amount of energy. You feel tired, drained, lacking motivation for other things. It's like having a vital energy leak that you can't stop. And this exhaustion, in the long run, can lead to more serious health problems, such as emotional burnout, depression, or physical problems related to chronic stress. Your body and mind are paying a high price for the other person's indecision that you tolerate. And time? We've already talked about it, but it's worth emphasizing. The time lost in relationships that don't go anywhere, in fruitless waiting, is time that will never be recovered. These are months, sometimes years of your life that could have been dedicated to building something solid, to meeting people who truly value you, to investing in your personal, professional, spiritual growth. Being leading on keeps you trapped in the past, to the crumbs of good moments she gave you, and to an illusory future, to the vague promises she made, preventing you from living the present fully and building a real and satisfactory future. Furthermore, you start to create negative, internal narratives. If you spend a lot of time being leading on, you might start believing that relationships are just like this, that all women are complicated, or worse, that I don't deserve a healthy and clear relationship. These limiting beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies, predisposing you to accept less than you deserve in future interactions. You get used to the dysfunction, to the lack of respect, and start to think that this is normal. And it's not. Not at all. Faced with this grim picture, what does Stoicism have to offer us? How can this ancient philosophy be a beacon in the darkness of these emotional consequences? First, the concept of amor fati, the love of fate. This doesn't mean passively resigning yourself to being leading on. On the contrary, it means accepting the reality of the situation as it presents itself. Yes, I am being leading on. These are the facts. This is the pain I feel. Acceptance is not agreement. It's recognizing the ground you are walking on. This radical acceptance of the naked truth is the first step to stopping fighting windmills and starting to direct your energy towards what can be changed. Your actions, your decisions. Next, we have premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Stoics practiced visualizing the worst possible scenarios. In your case, what would be the worst scenario? Her disappearing for good? her saying she doesn't want anything serious, her showing up with someone else. Visualize this. Feel the impact. It seems counterintuitive, but by anticipating the worst, you desensitize yourself, you prepare emotionally, and you realize that even if the worst happens, you survive, you continue. This takes away the power of fear, the power of uncertainty. If you have already contemplated the worst and seen yourself capable of dealing with it, being leading on loses much of its power over you. Focusing on virtue is another fundamental Stoic pillar. Your inner peace, your happiness, eudaimonia, for the Stoics, should not depend on the actions or decisions of another person. It should depend on your character, your virtues, courage, justice, temperance, wisdom. Even if she leads you on, you can choose to act with courage, seeking clarity, with justice, being honest with yourself and with her about your needs, with temperance, controlling your impulsive reactions, and with wisdom, learning from the experience. Your dignity is not in what she does, but in how you respond. And the value of the present moment. Being leading on keeps you hostage to an uncertain future. Stoicism pulls you back to the now. What can you do today to improve your situation? What can you do today to take care of yourself? What can you do today to reaffirm your value? Every present moment is an opportunity to act with virtue, to make a decision that brings you closer to your inner peace. Don't wait for her to change for you to start living. Live now, with the dignity and purpose you deserve. These consequences of being leading on are serious, my friend. They undermine your strength, your joy, your potential. But recognizing them is not to make you despair. It's to awaken you, to show you that inaction has a price, and that you have the power to interrupt this destructive cycle. You are not a victim of circumstances unless you choose to be. Stoicism offers you the tools to be the architect of your inner fortress, a fortress that no amount of leading on can shake. If you identified with any of these consequences, if you felt the weight of anxiety, frustration, low self-esteem caused by uncertainty on your skin, share this video with that friend you know is going through something similar. One warrior helps another to rise, and sometimes the right word at the right time can be the push he needed to also seek liberation. Fourth, we have reached the crucial point, the turning point. You have understood the labyrinth. You have learned to identify the signs of being leading on. You have become aware of the painful consequences of remaining in this cycle. So now what? What to do? How to get out of this web of uncertainty and regain control of your emotional life, your peace of mind? This is where the rubber meets the road, my friend. This is where theory turns into liberating practice. And Stoicism, once again, will be our guide, our moral and practical compass. The first strategy, which is actually a prerequisite for all others, is recognize and accept. You need to look at the data in your clarity logbook, at the signs you've identified, at the consequences you're feeling, and admit to yourself, with that brutal honesty we've already talked about, yes, I am being leading on. Yes, this situation is not good for me. Yes, I deserve more than this. Without this internal admission, without this acceptance of the naked truth, any attempt at change will be superficial and doomed to failure. You will continue to deceive yourself, finding excuses for her behavior, minimizing your own suffering. So stop for a moment, take a deep breath, and be honest with yourself. This is your truth, embrace it. It is your starting point. Once you have recognized and accepted the situation, the next step is Stoic assertive communication. Mind you, I'm not talking about angry outbursts, accusations, desperate chasing for a response. That only makes things worse and puts you in a position of weakness. Assertive communication, inspired by Stoic principles, is calm, clear, firm, and focused on the facts and your needs. You need to express how you feel and what you need, without beating around the bush but with respect. How to do this? First, prepare yourself. Know exactly what you want to say. Use your logbook as a basis. For example, you can say something like, "Jane, I like spending time with you and I value our connection. However, I've noticed a pattern of communication or cancelled plans or vague responses. Be specific, cite examples if necessary, but without an accusatory tone that has Left me anxious, confused, frustrated. Express your real feeling. For me to continue investing my time and energy here, I need more clarity, or consistency, or reciprocity. Say what you need. Do you see the structure? You start by acknowledging something positive, if there is one, then point out the specific behavior that is problematic, the fact, not the judgment about her intention, how it makes you feel, your emotion is valid, and what you need for the situation to improve, your need, without shouting, without excessive drama, but with unwavering firmness. A Stoic speaks the truth calmly, because his peace does not depend on the other person's reaction. He simply presents the facts and his needs. And here comes the crucial part of Stoic assertive communication. Be prepared for her response, whatever it may be, unfazed. Remember the dichotomy of control. You control what you say and how you say it. You don't control how she will react. She might get defensive. She might try to minimize. She might make empty promises. She might even agree and change, although less common in chronic cases of being leading on. Your task is to maintain your composure, your calm, your clarity. Don't get into endless arguments. Don't let yourself be manipulated by emotional blackmail. You presented your point. The ball is in her court. But what if assertive communication does not have the desired effect? What if she continues with the same patterns even after you've been clear about your needs? This is where setting clear boundaries comes in. Boundaries are not threats. Boundaries are a declaration of what you will or will not tolerate in your life. They are an expression of self-respect. You need to define, for yourself first, what your non-negotiable boundaries are. For example, I will no longer accept last-minute cancellations without a very plausible justification and an immediate rescheduling. Or, I will no longer initiate all the conversations. I need to see initiative from her side too. Or, I will no longer wait indefinitely for responses. If there isn't clarity about a next meeting in X days, I will move on with my life. These boundaries need to be communicated calmly and respectfully, but firmly. Jane, as we discussed, the issue of cancellations or lack of initiative, etc., is something that bothers me. If this happens again, I will understand that we are not on the same page, and I will need to step away to take care of myself. And the most important part, my friend, the part that defines a man of his word and self-respect. Uphold the boundaries you have set. If you say you will step away and don't step away when the boundary is crossed, your words lose all value. You teach the other person that your boundaries are flexible, that your needs are not that important. Upholding your own boundaries is an act of integrity. It is showing yourself first and foremost that you take yourself seriously, and this inevitably leads us to the courage to walk away. This is perhaps the most difficult action, but also the most liberating. If, even after your attempts at clear communication and setting boundaries, the situation of being leading on persists, if clarity doesn't come, if respect is not shown through concrete actions, then you need to have the courage to end the cycle, to say enough, to walk away from this dynamic that only causes you pain and frustration. This is not your failure. On the contrary, it is a victory for your self-esteem, your dignity. It is an act of self-preservation. Stoicism teaches us that true freedom is internal. By walking away from a situation that emotionally imprisons you, you are reclaiming your freedom. You are choosing peace over anguish, clarity over confusion, self-respect over submission to someone else's indecision. It might hurt at first, yes. The grief for what you hoped it would be is real, but this pain is acute, it is healing, unlike the chronic and draining pain of being leading on. Seneca reminds us that sometimes the medicine is bitter, but necessary for the cure. Walking away is that bitter medicine, but it restores your emotional health. And what to do after walking away, or even while you are in this process of seeking clarity. Redirect your energy. All that mental and emotional energy you spent analyzing messages, waiting for responses, getting frustrated, is now free. Use it to your advantage. Focus on yourself, on your life goals, your career, your hobbies, your true friends, your physical and mental health. Invest in courses, learn something new, reconnect with old passions, strengthen your mind with uplifting readings. How about starting with the Stoics themselves? Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca. They have so much to teach us about resilience, virtue, and inner peace. Use the experience as a lesson. Every challenge, every pain, every relationship that didn't work out carries valuable lessons if you are willing to learn them. What did this experience of being leading on teach you about yourself, about your boundaries, about what you truly value in a relationship, about the signs you will no longer ignore in the future? The Stoic does not see obstacles as ends in themselves, but as opportunities for the exercise of virtue. This situation of being leading on, however painful, can be the catalyst for you to become a stronger, wiser man, more aware of yourself and your value. Turn poison into antidote. Understand, my friend, that you do not need anyone's approval or validation to be complete. Your happiness, your peace, cannot be tied to someone else's decision. They reside within you, in your ability to live with virtue, with purpose, with self-respect. Being leading on only has power over you as long as you allow it. When you decide, with the strength of reason and your dignity, that you will no longer participate in this game, the game ends. At least for you, and that's all that matters. You cannot change the other person, but you can and should change yourself and your circumstances when they no longer serve you. This is the Stoic path to liberation. It is a path of courage, honesty, action. It is not easy, I know. It requires effort. It requires discipline. It requires facing some fears. But the reward is immeasurable. Your peace of mind, your integrity, your freedom. Are you ready to take these steps, to reclaim what is rightfully yours, your tranquility, your time, your life? If the answer is yes, then start today. Start now. Take the first step, however small. And remember, you are not alone on this journey. Many others have walked this path and found liberation. And you can too. Subscribe to the channel here because every week I bring more content like this. Tools, insights to strengthen you, to help you build your inner fortress, to make you a man increasingly unshaken by life's storms. Your subscription is a commitment to your growth. The journey to free yourself from being leading on is, in essence, a journey of rediscovering your own worth. It's about understanding that you deserve clarity, respect, and reciprocity. It's about learning to say no to what diminishes you, to what consumes you, to what deviates you from your path of growth and authentic happiness. Stoicism is not a philosophy of passivity, of resigned acceptance of suffering. On the contrary, it is a philosophy of virtuous action, of active resilience, of seeking wisdom to discern what we can control and what we cannot, and the courage to act on what is within our reach. And what is always within your reach, my friend, is your own mind, your own choices, your own actions. No one can take that from you unless you allow it. That initial anguish, that uncertainty that gnawed at your thoughts, it can be transformed. It can be the fuel for profound and lasting change in your life. Don't settle for emotional scraps. Don't accept being anyone's plan B. You were born to be the protagonist of your story, not an anxious spectator of someone else's indecision. Use the tools we shared here, the clarity logbook, the identification of the signs, the awareness of the consequences, and above all, the Stoic strategies of assertive communication, boundary setting, and the courage to walk away when necessary. Remember the brutal honesty with yourself. Remember the value of your time. Remember that your inner peace is non-negotiable. It is your sacred right. The decision is yours. The power is in your hands. Freedom awaits you on the other side of your courage. Go and conquer it. You are not just getting rid of a bad situation, you are building a future where self-respect is the foundation of all your relationships. And that, my friend, is priceless. That is living with honor. That is being truly strong. Believe in yourself. Believe in your ability to turn the tables. The time is now.